The World Cup in Qatar is over, and today I'm going to give my thoughts on the tournament. I'm also going to look back at my predictions that I made before the tournament kicked off and see how accurate or inaccurate I was with those predictions. And then finally, we're going to check out and see who has won our World Cup Predictor. First things first, from a footballing perspective, this World Cup was actually very entertaining. We had some high-scoring games, we had some controversial moments, and we also had some brilliant displays by young talents. So overall, the World Cup was an impressive tournament. I do think at times the controversy did outshadow it, and I'm talking about the controversy on the pitch. Obviously, the controversy off the pitch is really blatantly obvious, and the running of the World Cup in general, both on the lead up to it and what's now going to happen with the stadiums and stuff post World Cup, is very controversial. There's a lot of things happening within Qatar that shouldn't have happened, whether that be deaths from unsafe working conditions leading up to the World Cup, or the fact that most of the stadiums are just going to get broken down and going to not ever be used ever again. Really kind of takes away from what having a host of a World Cup is meant to be about. It's meant to be about building a legacy of football within your country, and that isn't going to be the case with this World Cup, especially if they're just going to bulldoze all the stadiums anyway. It feels like a bit of a cash grab, both from Qatar side of things and FIFA side of things, and that hasn't really left my feelings at all. Back to the controversy on the pitch though, we had some very questionable decisions made throughout the knockout stages, mainly by referees that were put in charge of these games. There were a handful of referees in this tournament who weren't up to scratch. Really poor officiating, some of the times actually creating tension in games that didn't need to be there. Certain players, it felt like, were maybe protected by referees. You got the likes of Lionel Messi, who at one stage should have been picking up yellow cards. I can't remember which game it was in, potentially the semi-final or the quarter-final, where he should have been picking up yellow cards and didn't, and that was quite blatantly obvious. And then in other games, you've got decisions where free kicks aren't being given. For England, talking from a salty England fan perspective now, free kicks not being given, and then goals happening at the other end of the pitch, and VAR not being able to step in because it wasn't in the box, which I think is ridiculous. If we've got VAR in place and we're actually going to use it, we should be using it for all key decisions. I'm not saying every single tackle on the pitch needs to be analysed and tracked back to. Of course not. That would be ridiculous. But if it leads to a goal, it needs to be checked. And for some reason, in many games during this World Cup, things were checked and they were incorrect. Or, I don't know, if you are fouled outside the box, it's not given as a foul, but if it had been, you know, a tackle that was never made, you would have gone through and had a shot on goal. That should be checked as well, in my opinion. But whether we just scrap VAR at this point, honestly, we could maybe just get rid of VAR and be done with it, because it's not really doing its job, in my opinion. Offsides, I think, is fine to an extent. Again, they've gone a little bit too far for my liking as well, but I understand offsides being a thing because they're kind of clear cut. It's either offside or it's not. But when it comes down to human understanding and human interpretation of a situation, I don't think we need a VAR at all, because it's not being used in the right way. If it was getting used in the right way, maybe I'd feel differently, but at the moment it's not. You could argue there was corruption at the World Cup with this, where certain players were favoured or certain teams were favoured to make sure that they made it to the final. But, you know, there's also been incredible performances that have meant that certain teams and certain players have made it to the World Cup final. So for the likes of Messi, yes, there are some questionable decisions, questionable penalties, questionable lack of yellow cards earlier on in the tournament. But within all of that as well, you've also got incredible performances by Messi, who carried a bog standard Argentina team to a World Cup final and then ended up winning it. Yes, on penalties, but he's won the World Cup with an Argentina team that is probably one of the worst Argentina teams we've seen at a World Cup in recent decades, really. I think every Argentina team I think back to that's played over the last 20 years is probably a better Argentina team than they had at this World Cup. Players stepped up, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Messi did drag some of them through, and he had an incredible World Cup. This is his biggest achievement. We'll talk about it. Is he the GOAT? I think that the greatest of all time can be determined for many different reasons. Internationally, he has now won the biggest honour. At club level, he has won the biggest honour in the Champions League, but I feel like his move to PSG dampened his legacy a little bit. If he had gone for a new challenge elsewhere and actually gone and tried to take himself to another level after leaving Barcelona, then I think I would personally have more respect for him. Instead, he went to PSG, which is a payday, and when you get to that point in your career, you do need to go for a payday. So I'm knocking it, but I understand his reasoning. I just don't think he's gone for a challenge at club level. If he'd come to the Premier League and even gone to Man City or gone to a Liverpool or another team with a load of money in the Premier League, Chelsea or whatever, then I would have respected him a lot more personally. If he had gone to Serie A, Bundesliga, I still would have respected him more because I feel like those leagues are more competitive. But focuses solely on his World Cup performance. He performed incredibly well. He managed to drag an Argentina team which had a Brighton midfielder and an Aston Villa goalkeeper in it, which on paper is hilarious that they've won a World Cup medal, but they were starting players in that Argentina team in McAllister and Martinez, and both of them contributed heavily to Argentina's performances. They stepped up. They're going to have some big clubs knocking on the door in January, safe to say, especially Martinez. Like, everyone's going to want him now. Some of the saves he made, especially in the final, in extra time, I believe it was, the one with his foot, was incredible. But yeah, overall, this World Cup, as a spectator, I have enjoyed it. There are still concerns. It was one of the best World Cup finals after the 60th minute. Before then, it was pretty boring. But yeah, it was a very good World Cup. How it's going to impact the Premier League, I don't know. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how that happens, but that's for another video. If I had to give the World Cup an overall rating out of 10, I would probably give it, from an England fan's perspective, my enjoyment of it, I'd give it an 8. I did enjoy the World Cup. I enjoyed majority of the games. I think the football stopped some spectacular goals happening because a lot of players have said that it floats around. It's not a great football. And I think that was obvious in the fact that we only saw a handful of goals actually happen from outside the area in this World Cup. And I think the ball is to blame for that. But also, I enjoyed it. There was entertaining times, but then there was heartbreak and frustrating times as an England fan. So 8 out of 10, overall, very decent World Cup. So before the tournament started, I made some predictions. I predicted the winner of the tournament, the surprise package, player of the tournament, young player of the tournament, top goal scorer and golden glove. I made these predictions before a ball had been kicked, and it's safe to say they're a little bit different to what actually happened. So I predicted the winner to be Brazil, the surprise package to be Uruguay, player of the tournament to be Messi, young player of the tournament to be Vinicius Jr., top goal scorer to be Messi, and golden glove to be Alisson. And it's safe to say it didn't quite work out that way. Brazil went out in the quarterfinals. Uruguay didn't even make it out the group. Vinicius Jr., I would argue, actually had a decent World Cup. Did Alisson play, or was it Ederson? I don't even remember who started in goal for Brazil. So let's go through what actually happened. Who actually took home these accolades? Of course, the winners of the World Cup were Argentina. I've already spoken in detail about them in this video, and I think that it is a massive achievement for Messi. It's his biggest achievement in his footballing career, in my opinion, because he took what I would consider a pretty average Argentina team and, went on to do incredible things with them. The surprise package was Morocco. Morocco got through to the semi-finals and came 4th in the tournament overall. I loved watching Morocco. There's a couple of players in there that I hope do get big deals at teams now and go on to have great careers. And they've done an absolute wonder for African football. Every single one of those Moroccan players should be proud. They were the team that after England went out, I just wanted Morocco to do bits. Unfortunately, you know, they went very, very far in the tournament, but they couldn't quite go past the semis, and did crumble towards the end against Croatia. But overall, very impressive. Some amazing moments for that Moroccan team, and a lot of them should be very proud of what they managed to achieve. Player of the tournament is Lionel Messi. Is that deserved? Yes. I think if France had won it, people would have gone, oh, Kylian Mbappe. It's not, it's Griezmann. Griezmann was incredible for France. Unfortunately, the whole French team didn't turn up on the night of the World Cup final. But if they had done and they had won it, Griezmann would have been my player of the tournament. But I understand Messi being player of the tournament. He was incrediable. And some of the, like the one assist he got where he took on the same player 4 times was hilarious, frankly. And it looks like he was trying to take the mick. We've got Hernandez, who's the Enzo Hernandez, who's the young player of the tournament for Argentina. Did very well in the midfield, from Benfica, I believe. I think that he will end up getting himself a contract at another side. I could see him getting a transfer, probably not in January, but in the summer. It will be a big fee. There will be teams like Liverpool sniffing around. All those teams that do need a midfielder at the moment. Liverpool are the main culprits for that, but who need a centre mid. He is the prime target right now because he was very much in control, but I don't think he could have done it without McAllister in that midfield, for example. I don't think he would have been able to do what he did without that support in there. So, you know, as much as he had a very good tournament, I think he's overshadowed McAllister a little bit, who I thought played very well. Top goal scorer, someone who was very unhappy to pick up his award at the end, was Kylian Mbappe. He is only the second person to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final, after Jeff Hurst, of course, who won it in 1966. Kylian Mbappe is the only person to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final and lose, which must hurt, to say the least. He, on the night, performed very well. There were times throughout the tournament I think he went missing, and if he hadn't had such a strong France side around him, I don't think he would have scored as many goals as he did. Yes, he will go on to have a very good career, but I would like to see him leave PSG and go and take on a challenge in a league which is actually competitive, because I don't believe the French league is particularly competitive. I think any young player that just stays in the French league for the money is doing an injustice to their career, if I'm honest with you. So I hope he moves on. He won't, because he's basically running the blinking club at this point. He will choose who he signs and everything, but I hope that at some point he does go on and find elsewhere to play, because he could go on to do crazy figures at somewhere like Madrid or City or something like that. He could go on to do incredible figures. If he comes to Man United, I'll be a very happy boy indeed. And the Golden Glove goes to Martinez. The absolute housery of him within penalty shootouts during this World Cup was brilliant. In the final alone, he's picked up a ball and thrown it away. And then the penalty's then been missed. He is just a wind-up merchant, and I think he's brilliant. I think he will get a move to Manchester United or any other team that's kind of on the brink of needing a new goalkeeper at the moment, potentially Liverpool, with Alisson getting not towards the end of his career, but getting on the latter stages of it. Martinez is a very decent keeper indeed. He performed really well throughout the whole tournament. I can't really complain. If Argentina had gone out like the quarterfinals, I probably would have given it to Boufal of Morocco, but considering what he did in the final especially, Martinez, very worthy winner. Before we go on to find out the result of our World Cup Predictor, please can you hit a like on this video, show some support for all these series. We're going back to Premier League Predictor later this week. Hopefully as many of you guys will get involved in that. And yeah, please subscribe to the channel as well. I'm trying to grow this channel as much as possible. By the end of this football season, I want to be in a position where I can go, right, I can earn a little bit of pocket money from this channel now. Can I put some cash prizes on the line for stuff like World Cup Predictor, for Premier League Predictor, whatever else we might do? So please do subscribe to the channel, hit a like on the video. It would be very much appreciated. World Cup Predictor is a twist on the Premier League Predictor. So if you've enjoyed doing this series, you'll want to go and head over to my channel later this week, because we're going to go back to Premier League Predictor. Premier League Predictor, little bit different, only in the sense that we don't count up the scores from week to week. We just have a competition for game week 17, for example. Everyone can compete for that week. If they haven't done a week before that, it doesn't matter. You're just competing for that week. And then we go to the game weeks 18. We'll just compete for game week 18. So if you've just joined us during this World Cup period, welcome to the channel, by the way, you can take part in Premier League Predictor and you won't be any worse off, because it's an individual competition each week. It's not an adding up of the scores for the whole season. So anyone can win at any point. Here is our league table for the World Cup Predictor, though. Our champion, who owes a lot to me, and I'll leave that as a bit of a controversial comment. If people want to find out why Stuyben owes a lot to me for winning this league table in the World Cup Predictor, then question him in the comments, guys. Interrogate him. See if he'll let his guard down. Who knows? Stuyben has won this competition with 60 points. His predictions were very good throughout the tournament. I did think towards the end he was going to get caught, but he did do very well in the end. It's nice for someone with poor ball knowledge to finally win something. So credit to Stuyben. He did very well throughout the World Cup, picking up a lot of points. Jossel came in second, only 3 points behind Stuyben with 57 points. And Ben managed to save it on the last set of games, managed to get himself a couple of points and put himself back into third position and get the bronze medal during our league table. There's a number of people down below as well, everyone who contributed. I was only 4 points off the top 3, which is pretty good for me. I usually finish bottom of the Premier League Predictor every single week, so I'll take that very nicely. And yeah, that is our league table for World Cup Predictor. Thank you to everyone who took part. These series, World Cup Predictor and Premier League Predictor, can't happen without you. If I don't have any predictions, I don't have a video. So thank you everyone for getting involved and putting your predictions in. We head back to the Premier League in our next video, so hopefully you guys are ready for that. And there we have it. World Cup Qatar 2022 is over. We're going to be heading back to domestic football now, and frankly, I don't think I'm ready to be a Man United fan again. If you guys have enjoyed all the World Cup content, please hit a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. I will be doing stuff through the Euros, through the rest of the Premier League season. I've also got some plans for the football break over the summer where we'll do some quizzes and stuff. So this kind of content isn't going anywhere. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I can't believe we let an Arsenal fan win a football knowledge based competition. We are a shocking community.